Hello everybody, this is Jerry Mateo with Music Marketing TV and welcome back to another video. Today we have a really cool new plugin from UJAM called VoxCraft. This is their multi-effects vocal processing plugin that is basically designed to give you a one-stop shop for all of these specialty effects that you normally use in a large signal chain. Taking a look, it's really simple. On the top, we have our factory presets. We can either load, save, edit, and create our own. We can even have the randomization, which will randomize all of the parameters except for the mix knob if you lock that out. And this is a very powerful tool and allows you to do so much. Under here, we actually have our voice section. Now, this gives you a voice mix, which is actually going to be a wet-dry mix of the actual processing that is used here. If I create this default preset right here, we turn this on, you can actually hear what this is doing. So we have a pitch shifter, a format shifter, and a unison knob, as well as pitch correction. You're able to actually link the pitch and format, and this doesn't have to link any specific way. You can just move it wherever you want and then have it follow. This is really good for natural sounding automation, but let's just do a quick listen of this. We have this vocal right here. It's like a little jazz vocal.
Cat curled on the charger screen, blow on my knees, scrolling through the silence, trying to feel a breeze.
Let's try the pitch shifter.
Cat curled on the charger screen, blow on my knees, scrolling through the silence, trying to feel a breeze. I'm just sounding on my window seat where the rest starts to shadow, every little worry falls slow.
Now, that is not something you would ever truly use, but I wanted to show you how smooth that sounded. There was no artifacts. It was very smooth and easy to use. And a cool thing is you can actually, let's say we bring this up to maybe 3 semitones and we bring down the mix, we actually get a cool effect.
Cat curled on the charger screen, blow on my knees, scrolling through the silence, trying to feel a breeze. I'm just zoning in my window seat, whether loose thoughts, loose sweater, letting every little worry fall slow.
Suddenly, we have an amazing little vocal double. It's really cool and it sounds very natural. Now, this also brings us to unison.
Cat curled on the charger screen, blow on my knees, scrolling through the silence, trying to feel a breeze.
It sounds so good and so natural. I really like this. The next section is our pitch correction. Now, this is very, very natural sounding unless you crank it up. The way that UJAM does a lot of their processing is the more that you turn something, the more aggressive the processing usually becomes. The only ones that don't really do that is the pitch and format shifting. But turning the correction up will kind of change the attack speed, the aggression and everything. And it comes from a very natural tuning into a very robotic kind of T-Pain effect.
Cat curled on the charger screen, blow on my knees, scrolling through the silence, trying to feel a breeze. I'm just zoning in my window seat, whether loose thoughts, loose sweater, letting every little worry fall.
It's pretty cool, and as you heard, even though I was out of key, I was just showing you that it does kind of have that auto-tune-esque kind of sound where it will actually skip and jump notes that are not supposed to be in key, which is really cool. If we bypass it, we can go down to our primary effects. We have dynamics, character, filter, delay, reverb, and chop. Now, dynamics is exactly like how it sounds. This is going to give you a noise gate and a compressor. Turning this on, you can see that we have gentle, leveling, solid, shine, punch, and overcooked. And these are basically telling you the types of algorithms being used.
Cat curled on the charger screen, blow on my knees, scrolling through the silence, trying to feel a breeze. I'm just zoning in my window seat.
And if we go for something like overcooked,
Cat curled on the charger screen, blow on my knees, scrolling through.
it sounds crazy like it's going through an 1176. And that's really cool. Gate also works very well. It's very fast. And I personally really like using this in leveling mode because it's very smooth, very natural, and basically invisible. For color compression, I usually use something more specific, but I really like how UJAM definitely tweaks the settings as you crank up the threshold or you crank up the amount. Characters where you're going to get your distortion. You have fuzz, saturation, radio, vinyl, lo-fi, and bit crushing. You have your tone for the overall timbre of the sound, and then the character is the amount of the effect.
Cat curled on the charger screen, blow on on my knees, scrolling through the silence, trying to feel a breeze. I'm just zoning in my window seat, whether loose thoughts, loose sweater, letting every little worry fall slow. Oh, clouds drift by and I drift with them. If I'm lost, I'm still forgiven in my window seat weather.
Fuzz, saturation, and radio are very level dependent. Now I have my level set for my input and output by -12 and +12. Automatically, that's just the preset that I like. And this gives me a ton of headroom to actually crank up these effects and not get an overly blown sound. But if you do have this set at its normal operation mode, you will hear this really sound intense.
Cat curled on the charger, screen glow on my knees, scrolling through the silence, trying to feel a breeze. I'm just zoning in my window seat, whether loose thoughts, loose sweater, letting every little word.
And of course, you have your mix knob at the bottom to help you blend things in and out. The filter section is really cool. This has a resonance and an envelope follower. So if you have this at negative values, when the volume goes down, it'll actually start having more filtering effect. If it's up, it'll filter as the signal gets louder.
Cat curled on the charger, screen glow on my knees, scrolling through the silence, trying to feel a breeze. I'm just zoning in my window seat, whether loose thoughts, loose sweater, letting every little worry fall slow.
And if you use something like the comb filtering, you can really kind of create this almost like double delayed effect. It's really, really cool. Well, we also have phase.
Cat curled on the charger, screen glow on my knees, scrolling through the silence, trying to feel a breeze. I'm just zoning in my window seat, whether loose thoughts, loose sweater, letting every little worry fall slow. Oh, clouds drift by and I drift with them. I'm still forgiven in my window.
Pretty cool sounding, and as you can hear, these filters sound amazingly smooth. All of these effects have like no stepping at all. It's really cool. UJAM is really, really good at really fine-tuning their effects to sound as natural as possible. Now the delay, I personally really like. You have timing, feedback, and then you have your modes: mono, stereo, ping pong, green, detuned, and filtered. Let's just take a listen.
Cat curled on the charger, screen glow on my knees, scrolling through the silence, trying to feel a breeze. I'm just zoning in my window seat, whether loose thoughts, loose sweater, letting every little worry fall.
Filtered kind of sounds like a little bit of an analog style delay. Ping pong sounds really good. The granular delay is very impressive on how good this sounds.
Cat curled on the charger, screen glow on my knees, scrolling through.
It just sounds really cool. Moving on to our reverb. This is very, very classic UJAM. I know because I own like almost all the UJAM plugins. I've actually bought most of them. They have room, plate, hall, gated, reverse, and infinity. And I know that I love the hall sound and I like the plate sound. Let's just take a listen.
Cat curled on the charger, screen glow on my knees, scrolling through the silence, trying to feel a breeze. I'm just zoning in my.
I have to just stop. I love the way that hall sounds. It sounds so good. Let's continue.
Cat curled on the charger, screen glow on my knees, scrolling through the silence, trying to feel a breeze. I'm just zoning in my.
And that infinity reverb sounds really cool. The gated reverb sounds very, very old school, very 80s, and I really like that hall. That plays very lush, and that room is very, very natural. All right, the chop. This is going to be the most interesting one. We have the pre-reverb and post-reverb switch, and this is going to basically give us like our stutter effects, right? So let's just take a listen.
Curled on the chair, screen low on my knees, scrolling through the silence, trying to feel a breeze. I'm just zoning in. Thoughts loose, sweater, every little worry falls.
It's actually a really nice effect. And if you're doing something like for electronic production, I can totally see this being a huge plus. Now, at the very bottom, we have our gain, we have our auto leveler. I personally like to turn off auto leveler just because I like to do my gain staging manually. I don't know, I'm a little old school. I grew up in recording studios where we had to do that manually, so I always do that myself. We have our low cut and our high cut, and then we have our mix knob, lock, doubling, and our focus EQ. Think of the focus EQ as your pan tilt shelf. It's not a panner, I just call it that, but it's darker and brighter.
Cat curled on the charger screen, glow on my knees.
It's very smooth, and as you hear, all of these filters, you don't hear them like stepping or doing any type of artifacts.
Cat curled on the charger screen, glow on my knees, scrolling through the silence, trying to feel.
It's ridiculous how smooth this thing sounds. You have our super glue. You can think of this as like a bus compressor, but let's listen to that doubler really quickly.
Cat curled on the charger screen, glow on my knees, scrolling through the silence, trying to feel a breeze. I'm just zoning in my window seat, whether loose.
Again, anything that sounds like it's too over the top, just using that mix knob really does wonders. Let's see how I use this in this track. Well, the first thing is I want to just show you some of the presets. Now, a lot of these presets, I'm going to admit, are a little bit out of control. And that's actually why I do this, where I set my input gain to -12, boop, and my output gain to +12, because this way these presets don't blow your ears. They're very loud, and a lot of them utilize the auto leveling, and auto leveling tends to make things really loud. But as you see, we have lots of stuff from chopped, distorted effects, doubling effects. Let's even try the double tree, right? We'll turn off auto leveler, and here we go.
Cat curled on the charger screen, glow on my knees, scrolling through the silence, trying to feel a breeze. I'm just zoning in my window seat.
Okay, but what about the mix polish? Because these are all out of control, in-your-face effects. Well, I love mix polish. Check out fairy dust, right? We're going to have fairy dust. We're going to have this set like this. And this is the preset. This is how it's set up, right? Just a little bit of pitch shifting, a tiny dab of formant shifting. The mix is at 20%. Unison is at 10. No pitch correction. And we have a little bit of delay, a little bit of reverb, and then we have a little bit of super glue, some auto level, and then the mix knob is at 40%. Let's turn it off and then turn it on.
Cat curled on the charger screen, glow on my knees, scrolling through the silence, trying to feel a breeze. I'm just zoning in my window seat, whether loose thoughts, loose sweater, letting every little worry fall slow.
That sounds amazing. I really like that, and that's probably something I would use for the most part, but this is a lo-fi track.
Cat curled on the charger screen, glow on my.
Yes, it's lo-fi jazz, but it's lo-fi. So I have actually created a preset. It should go under spoken word, and it's going to be called Lo-Fi Vox Jam. Jam because that's my initials, not because of anything else. Now for this, I really want you to hear the effect. So I'm going to back off on a different part of the song. We're going to lead in, and I want you to look at all the processing that I'm doing here. I have my voice effects set at a 30% mix. I have a little bit of a semitone bump for the pitch shifting. It's up by essentially 3 semitones. Unison is at 100%. I'm using the dynamics, character, delay, reverb, super glue, and that's everything. So let's sew this up really quickly, bypass all of these processes, and then I'm going to bring them up little by little. So here we go.
Sunday stuck on repeat, same hoodie, same old view. Cat curled on the charger screen, glow on my knees, scrolling through the silence, trying to feel a breeze. I'm just zoning in my window seat, whether loose thoughts, loose sweater, letting every little worry fall slow.
Pretty cool, right? We're going to load that preset up again, and let's just listen to this. That radio effect is doing a lot. I really like it, but it's giving me that kind of lo-fi vibe. So let's hit play. And let's see how that fits the track now.
Sunday stuck on repeat, same hoodie, same old view. Cat curled on the charger screen, glow on my knees, scrolling through the silence, trying to feel a breeze. I'm just zoning in my window seat, whether loose thoughts, loose sweater, letting every little worry fall slow. Drift by
To me, that sounds really cool. It's given this very kind of clean, polished sounding vocal, this kind of gritty lo-fi radio vibe that really fits with this like lo-fi jazz, kind of slightly hip-hop-ish kind of track. This is just a bass, keys, some drums, and vocals, and I'm really, really digging how it turned out. And that's going to be it for this demonstration. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. Please feel free to leave comments, ask questions down below, and I will see you guys later.